Hi there, and welcome to the inaugural episode of The Gardener Upstairs. Today, we're going to make pickled pepperoncinis. That's right, the same pickled pepperoncinis that you're used to getting on your pizzas and sandwiches. They taste exactly the same as the ones you're used to, but they don't require any of the special equipment that's required for traditional canning. They don't last quite as long, but they're so delicious that your family should have no problem finishing them long before that's an issue. So join me on the balcony, and we'll get started. This pepperoncini plant is the first plant that I've grown from seed, and it's the first to be ready for harvest this season, so it makes sense that it's the first it's going to get a video. As you can see, it's quite prolific for its small size, which is perfect for what I use it for. As you can see, we got quite a few pepperoncinis from my little plant. Significantly more than I expected, because I planned to get just enough to fill this little jar. So that's about how many I'll eat in 2 weeks to a month. And I didn't even pick all of the pepperoncinis. I left quite a few small ones on there to turn red, get fully ripe. I've read that the red ones, they're not the best for pickling. They get soft, so I only picked a few of those because I'm curious. I'd like to see what it's like for myself, but I figure if I let them ripen, then I'll find something else to do with the fresh pepperoncinis. The first step is to clean off your peppers. I don't use any kind of pesticides, so I don't have to worry about that. But I do have a lot of birds in my garden, and I really like them, but they do kind of make a mess, and I don't want to eat that. There's also bugs, and there's things in the air that it's worth it to just take the extra time and clean off your peppers before you start, as with any produce. After you've washed your peppers, it's a good time to get your pickling juice started on the stove. If you time it right, everything will be ready at the same time. In a small pan, bring 1 cup of water, one cup of distilled vinegar, 2 tablespoons of sugar, three tablespoons of pickling salt, stir it, and bring it to a boil. The next step is to make an incision down the length of the pepper. This is so that your pickling juices can get inside and marinate over the next 2 weeks. As you may have noticed before, I plan to recycle pickle jar for my pickled pepperoncinis. If we were doing traditional water bath or pressure canning, that would not be ideal and it could potentially be dangerous. But we're not doing traditional canning. We're just putting our pepperoncinis in the refrigerator. So our jar, it's just a storage container. It's no different than if we were using Tupperware, but obviously you're not going to put boiling water into your Tupperware. So I'm confident we'll be safe. If you want to, you can use a traditional pickling jar. You'll be just fine. If you look up recipes for refrigerator pickled pepperoncinis, you'll see recipes that call for cloves and garlic and bay leaves and all kinds of other spices and herbs. But in my testing, it doesn't make a whole lot of a difference. So I just use my favorite salt-free seasoning. It doesn't really matter which one. It always tastes the same. You can get fancy, but you don't have to. We're in the home stretch now. We're almost done. This is the hard part because I haven't bought a funnel yet. We need to get our boiling pickling solution into our jar of packed pickled pepperoncinis. While we're waiting for the solution to cool so we can put the lid on, you don't want to put it on too soon. It could pop and that would make a mess in our refrigerator. While we're waiting, I like to pack it down some, get some of the air out. You can let them marinate a little more. It makes them do that bursting when you bite into them, and that's always fun. Once your jar is cooled a little bit, put on the lid, put it in the fridge. 2 weeks later, you'll have some great pepperoncinis. Okay, I've just got a couple things I'd like to reiterate before we finish up here. The most important thing to remember is that this recipe must be refrigerated. If you put this in your cupboard next to your cereal and your canned goods, you are seriously putting your family at risk. It is not that type of a recipe. Similarly, number 2, this recipe will not last near as long as traditional canning. I've seen some recipes say that it will last up to 6 months, but me personally, I make smaller batches so that they will be long eaten before I get close to that amount of time. So there's my first video as the gardener upstairs. Definitely room for improvement. I have new respect for the people whose channels inspired me to give it a try myself. I look forward to making more and getting better with each one. I've already got ideas. If you have suggestions of your own, feel free to leave a comment below. And if you would like to see more, please hit the little red subscribe button. Big thanks for me. I had a lot of fun and I hope to do more, and that's all for this one from the gardener upstairs.